Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. Hello and welcome. You're listening to episode 42 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And I hear for some of you, school has already started. Oh my goodness. We haven't started here yet. In fact, as this episode airs, I will be on vacation with my family, soaking up the last of the summer vibe around here. We actually start school next week. One more week where I live. And I know some of you won't even start until September, which is what we always did when I was growing up. It was, we started after Labor Day, and I'm sure a lot of you did too. And summer felt long and luxurious, and nobody really was worried about much of anything. It was fun to be a kid. I vividly remember sort of that Memorial Day timing being like, we know it's close. We know we're getting out soon. And I think my high school graduation was June 12th. So I think we regularly finished around the middle of June, but then we were out until, that second week of September. And it shifted the energy a little bit. It made the fall seem a little shorter. Now for schools that are going back that first week of August or second week of August, it's kind of a long fall, before you finally get to the holiday break. I mean, I'm not trading it. I loved having this summer with the kids, and I certainly loved having it be even longer, when I was growing up. And it just seems like it goes so fast. But if you're a kid, it probably in some ways feels long. They don't have the same responsibilities. They're not necessarily tracking it on a calendar. So they're sort of fully in the moment from day to day. There's a lot to remember when they go back to school. As we're prepping here for them to head back, we've been doing reading bingo cards where you have, all the different types of books and reading assignments to complete over the summer, and sending postcards to the teachers, which was one of their assignments, and doing their summer solutions books. And at least in our school, there's sort of a giant push to avoid what they refer to as the summer slide. It's that dreaded loss of momentum that happens during the summer months when you basically forget everything that you learned in school. If you haven't been reinforcing the concepts, because left to their own devices, who's going to practice math or spelling or grammar concepts during the summer if they're not in a classroom with a teacher reinforcing that? So this big emphasis on avoiding the summer slide and reinforcing the concepts that you learned throughout the summer in small ways, so that when you go back to school in the fall, they can pick up where they left off, and you don't have that big dip to recover from. And I was thinking about that, and it got me wondering, what about us as adults? Do we have a summer slide? Is that a thing? And if we do, in what areas of life might it show up? So I talked about this with some of the women who I coach and gave it some thought. And it turns out there are a few areas that tend to move backwards during the summer. If you think about the rhythm of summer, we stay up later, we're more social. So a lot of people are drinking more or eating more. We attend a lot of parties and backyard barbecues and days at the beach, and we go on vacation, which for a lot of people is a complete opportunity to just hit pause on all good habits, right? So then we take long weekends. So the rhythm at work is different. People have summer hours. A lot of people are out of the office, so it's hard to even get a quorum, in a work group on an idea. And let me be clear, all of this is great in a lot of ways. It's good to have some recovery time. It's good to have some downtime. But it turns out it can cause us to take steps backwards in some areas that we actually care about. And in the conversations that I've had about this, there are, sort of a big three. I'm going to lump two together so we can get this into three. So the first area that I think I'm hearing women say I've experienced a summer slide is, not surprisingly, food and fitness, your personal health and well-being. And I think this is driven by we're out of rhythm. So good habits like getting to the grocery store and having healthy food in the house, that alone could be an uphill battle during this season. We're not necessarily making meal plans for the week because who even knows who will be gathered around the table? Kids are running in a lot of different directions. Maybe they're in an overnight camp. Maybe you've been on vacation. So the concept of having that rhythm of I'm planning meals for the week, the food is coming into the house, we're all, sitting down to eat them seems like it's kind of on the back burner. And there's a lot more, let's order in or let's sort of, grab something to eat out of what's in the house. And the second thing I think under food and fitness is the, I'm on vacation, so I deserve it mindset. And this is really, really prevalent. I think when you talk to people about vacation, there's a couple of schools of thought, but the dominant one is definitely all bets are off. I am allowed to do whatever I want because I'm on vacation. So that, certainly takes the toll on an exercise schedule. And, people take active vacations, but most people take it as a week or two of just not having to do it at all. And also food. I can eat whatever I want. I can order whatever I want. I can have dessert 3 times a day because I'm on vacation. It's all the ice cream and the cocktails and the, nachos that kind of come with vacation fare. And I think then you have the heat compounding things where it's just frankly too hot to run or walk or bike or, even want to go to the gym. So outdoor activity levels decline because people will say it's just too hot or they have other plans. There's so many other things competing for your social leisure time that habits that are related to your fitness tend to fall to the back burner. So, if you've been able to sustain your habits around fitness or around eating well, congratulate yourself because I think it's not the norm. The norm would be to have taken some steps backwards. And so the key thing is going to be, what are we going to do about that? Right? How do you get off the summer slide if you realize that you've been on it in this area? The second area that I think we experience the summer slide is home organization. We're not at home as much. To the points I was making earlier, we're on vacation or we're outside. We're running around to do things with the kids. We're at the beach. We're at the lake. So there just isn't as much time spent inside of our home. And I think it's easier to ignore things that might have piled up. So clutter tends to build up during the summer, right? Paperwork, shoes, camp crafts, souvenirs, mail that hasn't been opened, newspapers that haven't been dealt with. Kids come in and out of the house a lot more and they're kind of dropping stuff wherever they go as they come in and out. And there's this sense of, I'll do it later. I want to relax. And again, it's great to relax. It's great to relax, but it does have this equal and opposite effect of things moving sort of out of control limits. In addition to clutter, the other thing I'm hearing is that the systems that keep your home running get stressed or they fall apart altogether. And we're certainly not establishing new systems. Very few people are using the summer as an opportunity to build new systems that can keep things running well into the fall. So things like, what is the rhythm around grocery shopping? What is the rhythm around getting to Costco or Sam's Club? What is the laundry rhythm? How are we dealing with things that have to be done regularly? They seem to fall out of kilter and it's a little bit more catch as catch can, right? So there's just this pile up that's starting to weigh people down by the end of the summer.
Feel like you're being pulled in 1,000 directions? Let's fix that. Download your free rebalancing toolkit and learn how to design an optimized week that lets you feel like you have it all. Get the goods at brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all.
That's the second one. So the first one was food and fitness. The second one is home organization. The third area that's really kind of was maybe the most interesting to me. I think I actually kind of suspected the first two, But this third one was a little bit interesting. And I think the third area where we experience this summer slide is in our personal growth toward goals. So summer seems to be a time of like treading water. We're not really taking on new things. There's this giant sense of, I'll do it later, or I'll do it someday. Maybe an idea even surfaces, something that you think, I could do this, right? I could learn to do this. Maybe it's a skill you want to build. Maybe it's a business idea. Maybe it's a volunteer opportunity that you want to get involved with. But there's this sense of, I'll do it later. And so I really sense a slowdown in people taking on new things or keeping up with things that they said they would do. So as I'm listening to the women I work with in Breakthrough, we're noticing this collectively that, I kind of commitments that got initiated in like the spring maybe are harder to sustain through the summer because the environment around us is saying, hey, this is time to relax. It's not really time to grow. And so all those, things like I'm going to read instead of watching TV or being on social media, or I'm going to meditate regularly, or I'm going to journal, right? Or I'm going to learn a skill like playing the guitar or watercolor painting, or I'm going to really dive into and grow this side business that I've developed to see if I can make something of it. There seems to be an ebb to the progress against those. And what happens is it becomes a season of maintaining the status quo or going backwards. Because the truth is, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. There are very few instances in life where we really are at a steady state. We tend to be progressing or regressing. So that whole notion of either I'm going to tap the brakes on this, I'm going to sort of hit pause and I'll get back to it later, or I'll start later, I'll start someday. It's like this delay of decision. And I'm just seeing it everywhere. I'm hearing it in social conversations. I'm certainly hearing it inside of our environment in Brilliant Balance. And goals just seem to be on hold for the summer. And I think this really is the biggest contributor to the summer slide. We will be a little behind or a lot behind when the summer ends and we have to pick up and kind of regain that ground before we can get to our true potential. So there is the biggest risk to this, to me, is that you won't ever get back to it, because restarting it's harder than starting in the first place. Anytime you've probably had this experience, maybe you were training for a marathon or you're training to run a 10K and you've been running regularly for months and you get to the event and you do it and it's a lot of fun, but you're like, I've earned my break, right? It's the equivalent of quote unquote summer. So you take a break and you don't run for a month. How easy is it to start again? Are you excited about getting back out there? No, it's awful. I've done it. It's awful. The restart is so much harder than sustaining the progress that you've built. So that's the biggest risk. The biggest risk is as these systems have fractured, as you've noticed that you've moved backwards, whether it's food and fitness related, whether it's in your home, whether it's in terms of your progress toward a goal that you'd set back back before the summer started, the risk is you just give up. And it doesn't have to be that way, but I think it's the only way you're going to get a different outcome is if you acknowledge that the gravitational pull is going to be to stop, and then you figure out a different path, okay? So if you've been on that summer slide, if you can identify yourself now with what area might have slipped, and you want to get things moving forward again, then make today your day. No, this is the day, not tomorrow, not next month, not, I'll get to it someday. Get clear about how it is that you want to live and get restarted, because it's okay to take a break. It is always okay to take a break, but committing to where the restart is going to happen and knowing, just acknowledging that you're going to have some catch up to do will help you, because otherwise you get in and it's really hard and you don't like how it feels, right? And it's harder than it was when you stopped and you're wondering, how did you fall backwards? Well, now you know. So you won't have resistance to the fact that it's harder, and which should actually help you begin and sustain that effort. And, you may have some side effects from having fallen off track. If it's food and fitness related, you may feel like your clothes don't fit quite as well, or your energy level has dipped, or you don't have the strength that you had or the stamina that you had. If it's household related, you might just be undone by the clutter. When you walk into the house, it might really start to grate on you that it's gotten to this condition. And you think, God, I don't want to climb out from, the state of affairs today. I want it to be like it was back in May. Well, we are where we are, right? So acknowledging the reality of this is the situation, I'm going to start where I am. And then every day, it can be better every day. That energy, that intention will help you. That you don't spend a lot of time lamenting how we got here. It's just acknowledging this is where we are. And now we're going to be very focused on moving forward, right? It's what I love the most about the work I do is intersecting with women at that moment when they've decided it begins today. This is the day that I am going to get my arms around the things that are not working in my life. And I'm going to put a plan in place that I'm going to stick with to actually move my life in the direction that I want it to go. They reclaim a sense of control over that. They find their personal agency. And it is just the best thing about getting to do this work with women is everyone has that in them. You have that in you, but you have to connect to that energy and say, today is my day. This is the day that I begin the journey of better every single day. So we're here for you. As you go on that journey, I am here to support you. Know that I am cheering you on, encouraging you, happy to provide any resources and support that we can to help you get restarted, get off the summer slide, and get things moving forward again. And you know where to find us, right? The Brilliant Balance Facebook group is a great place to start. If you haven't joined that yet, just go to Facebook, search Brilliant Balance. It's like a great group of women in there having conversations about all this kind of stuff. Would love to see you in there. If you have not grabbed your rebalancing toolkit, that's a good starting point. You go to brilliantbalance.net/have-it-all, and you'll get the rebalancing toolkit. And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next week, so you have a little bit of a preview of coming attractions here. If you think about the aftermath of the summer slide, right, where I said, there might be clutter in the house or a few extra pounds that have crept on, you might be thinking, no one's really going to notice. I'm going to kind of hide this thing that's not working. And we often try to do that. We often try to hide what's not working. The question is, are we really as good at that as we think we are? And so we're going to talk about that next time. We're going to talk about, are you hiding it, as well as you think? Any area of your life that is not working the way you want it to. So that is all for today. I hope you have a fabulous end to your summer if you are still in that zone. If you've started school, all the best. And until we talk next time, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.